What's going on, everyone? My name is Mack, and today we're going through some Q&A questions that you guys asked me. Yeah, let's get right into it. So I'm going to be looking on my phone, if you see me looking down, on the questions that you guys asked me. So the first category was, well, not category, but first thing I asked was Facebook. So someone asked me, how do you make the posters for the shows other than the official ones you make? Where do you see your talents in the photography leading into the future? So for the posters I make for just regular shows, I just make them as what the promoter wants. So I ask them what kinds of colors they want, what kind of, what talent do they want on the card, or on the poster, sorry, and then I just make it up as I go. I see inspiration. For the posters I make just for fun, or just post on social media, I get inspiration from online. I go to many people who do posters, and then I get inspiration from that. I get inspiration by looking at just regular posters from other companies, so that's pretty much it. I use Photoshop. Where do I see myself in the future with photography? I want to do photography for pretty much the rest of my life. Maybe just a side job, maybe. Not a job, like a hobby for my future. I think of going to college, hopefully next year, for broadcast television at Mohawk College, and then working my way to maybe a broadcast level. Like if you're in the Hamilton area, you would know CHCH News. I could work there. I could do sports, filming, or any of that stuff. So that's where my future in photography is, just a hobby out of the broadcast television level. The next question that was on Facebook is how does he manage his anxiety, not only in a crowd of people but ringside as the action occurs? How does he stop himself from reacting to something cool while it's happening? Tips for shaky hands. The anxiety is, during the show, I tend to not react as well or as good because I know my role, I know my job, I know that I'm on camera as the hard cam is facing me, so I know that if I react, it'll look bad to me, to the company, and to everyone else. So I react in my head, but it's not like I'm not reacting at all. I love the moves, they're great. My anxiety, sometimes during a couple weeks ago there was a hardcore match and there was a door and some chairs. That one, the hardcore matches get me sometimes. My anxiety just goes off the roof during those hardcore matches because I never know what's gonna happen. So it's not big anxiety, but I still get it. Like everyone else gets anxiety. How does he stop himself from reacting to something cool while it's happening? I react in my head, as I just said. It's kind of easy for me since I've been doing this for a long time now. I know a lot of the moves that wrestlers do. I see them before, I see them on TV, I know what they do, what the little things are, what the big things are. So, yeah. And tips for shaky hands. So, what I learned in a couple classes that I've taken is that if you have a camera here, you want your arms, you want your elbows not out here. You want your arms tucked in so that you can actually hold the camera, and then you can actually do this, because if your arms out here, your hands will be shaky automatically. That's what I've learned in the few years I've done photography. So I think that's the tip, maybe? I don't know. On to the next question. Out of everything that you've done for the Ontario indie scene, what aspect do you find most rewarding? For the most rewarding, I feel like just having to go ringside and be able to be the best seat in the house is sort of rewarding, because I get asked by the company to be on the ring or at the ring, and they understand what I do and how I do it, and if they have a problem, they can come to me. But I love seeing like a crowd in the audience that just watching wrestling, just loves wrestling. I feel like that's the most rewarding, because you get the wrestlers have an audience, and then the wrestlers are doing their job and they can deliver to the fans. So I know that's not really photography and videography aspects, but I just feel like that's the most rewarding, and it's coming into a venue and seeing all these people just sitting and watching pro wrestling, indie pro wrestling at that. So I feel like that's the most rewarding for myself. And now we're going on Instagram. Two people, I know these two people. They're like, "Why are you so cute?" I don't know. No idea. No, this next one was probably the hardest for me to answer, just for one aspect of it. But someone asked, who is the most underrated and overrated indie wrestlers in the world? For me, the hardest one to answer was the overrated part, because I never want to answer overrated. I never want to answer overrated, because everyone deserves a chance to prove themselves to people. So, like, if you don't like them, then other people might like them. I just don't think that there's anybody that's overrated on the independent scene. But underrated, I truly believe that there's a lot of people that are underrated. I know that there's someone in Ontario, like Holden Albright, like BMD, Evan Greenway, Airstrike of Tyler Arrow and Mike Forte, just to name a few people that in Ontario that are underrated, and that's it. I don't like answering overrated, because I just feels like if I answer it, someone will take offense to it, and I hate doing that. It's just my preference, so just, yeah. Another question is, what do you think makes a good wrestler? So, in 2020, what do I think makes a good wrestler? Since I'm sitting on the ring filming and doing all that, I think what makes a good wrestler, I know I'm going to break kayfabe here. I'm going to break it, so just, if you don't like it, just leave now. But what makes a good wrestler is when a wrestler goes out and delivers 100% to the fans, delivers 100% to a 5-person crowd or a 1,000-person crowd. They're both the same. What makes a good wrestler is when you have 2020 good social media presence. So I guarantee you, limited people in Ontario, if they don't have social media presence, they're not gonna do anything. That's just 2020, and that's how I feel. Sorry about that. But what makes a good wrestler is, I'm gonna break kayfabe, when you know that you're gonna talk to someone when you're in the ring, and you're literally talking in front of the camera. It's literally like you're talking, and you're talking like this, and you're doing your moves. I'm like, there's a camera right here, guys. Like, don't do that. There's other ways to do it. So we're gonna go on to the survey now. So someone asked, who is your hero? My hero, I actually don't know this one, to be honest. There's so many people who have inspired me. Who is my hero? There's not just one person. There's photographers, there's wrestlers, there's my family. But one person could be, I know this is going to be cheesy and cliche, but over the past few years, my dad has helped me a lot in the past few years with just filming, wrestling, talking me through things, what I need to do. So he is just one aspect of just a hero that I think is in the books today. And like photography, there's this guy in Toronto. His name is Peter McKinnon. He's one of the people who has helped me, not like face to face physically, but just online. His YouTube videos, his social media has just helped me grow as a photographer and videographer. So that's pretty much two people that has helped me along the way. Someone asked, how did you get into being around wrestling, and what was your first experience in the business? What did you do that first time? So my first wrestling show that I went to was in a garage, I think in Hamilton. It was a show for this little kid, this charity show. His name was Noah. So it was just, I think it was called Wrestling for Noah. I think that's what the show was called. But it was a great show. It was in a garage. I think it was in 2013 or 14 or something like that. I was about 12 or 13 when I went. So I was with my dad. I think he was helping out with that show as well. So he's the one who introduced me to indie pro wrestling. Before that, I was watching like what any other like someone would watch, which was WWE, and that was in about 2011, 2012, when I came to live here with my grandparents. That's when I started watching WWE, and then a few years later, I went to this Wrestling for Noah show. I really liked it. I didn't go to another wrestling show for a few months, and then I went to Fringe Pro Wrestling, as some people may know the show, or the company in Hamilton that is not around anymore. But I went to one of their shows. The first show I ever went to, well, my dad was running the company, and I was the bell ringer, and my dad was playing the music, so we were right beside each other. So that was a good time. I got to help set up at like 13, so like 12 or 13 years old. I got to help set up a ring, set up chairs, and I was a bell ringer for the company for that show. And then after that show, I just didn't really go to any more wrestling shows after that. I went to, I think, a few Fringe Pro Wrestling shows, but then I stopped going. And then I think in 2015 or 16, whenever it was, so I got the poster on my wall here. I'll go check. It was 2015. That was my first show back into pro wrestling. I think it was June or July. It was Josh Alexander's retirement match because he had a neck injury, and his doctor said that he couldn't come back into wrestling. He had to retire. But that was my first show back, and then pretty much since then, I've been going to Alpha One shows regularly. I've been going to other shows as well regularly, and then yeah, that's pretty much how I got into the business. It's through my dad technically. Now the question is, what are you looking forward to about May 16th? So May 16th is, I believe this is what this guy's talking about. I'm going to St. Catharines for Hybrid Championship Wrestling. They asked me to do photography for them. I'm really excited actually. This is my first time going to St. Catharines for a wrestling show. It's in May. May is pretty much a traveling month because at the end of the month I have Alpha One Wrestling out in Colborne. But for May 16th, that weekend I'm actually going away. I'm going camping, and then I'm getting driven to here, like my home. Someone is driving me from where I am to here, and then someone else is driving me from here all the way to St. Catharines for this show. I'll put the poster right here. It's Hybrid Championship Wrestling, I believe that's what they're called. Their show is going to be great. It's a charity show for KRE and Sick Kids Hospital in Toronto. So yeah, it's going to be a great day. I look forward to it. Someone else asked, we are at the third last question now. Someone asked, what got you into photography? So the first thing I did when I was 12 or 13, everything's like when I'm 12 or 13, but everything when I did when I was 12 or 13, I took photos of my trips. So I went to Mexico and Disney World in the span of 4 months. So I took both trips individually and put them in Movie Maker, Windows Movie Maker. So that's what I started on for video editing. So that's I put each individual trip into a whole timeline thing, and then put music to it, put some words to it, like graphics, like where I went. This is like, oh, Universal Studios or Epcot. So And then the Mexico trip, I went on a cruise. I put photos of each individual place we went to, and then I was actually taking pictures. Like, I had my own camera. Like, it was just like a little point and shoot camera, but still, it was still a camera. That's what got me started into photography. And then I think in grade 10 or 11 in my high school year, that's when I really picked up in photography, because I went into a film class in my school. I was the first and only student in that film class, and I got a camera for that whole semester, so I get to do whatever I wanted to with that camera inside and outside of school. So I went to lots of places, and then when the semester was over, I had to hand the camera back in to the school, and then 2 months later, I got a camera of my own that my dad, my grandma, and lots of people pitched in. So I'm thankful for that, but that's how I got started into photography. So, yeah. And second last question, how did you get into filming wrestling shows, and how long have you been doing it for? Who got you started or interested in wrestling and filming or behind the scenes aspect of it? So what got me into filming wrestling shows was there's this guy named Jeff Duke who I give all the credit for. He's the one who got me started into filming wrestling. I was at an F1 show. I was doing photos just for fun, and then when I got back home, about a couple weeks later, I got a message on Facebook from Jeff Duke asking if I could help him film wrestling shows. I'm like, oh wow, I've never filmed a wrestling show. I've never really experienced stuff like that. So when he reached out to me, that was pretty much the life-changing thing that happened where I am today. And so the first, I met him at a Hamilton Pro Wrestling show when they were running on Barn Street at the Christopher whatever hall. I'm pulling a blank here, but I met him there, and then the next show we did was that I actually filmed with the school camera I had in March of 2018. So March 2018, I believe it was on the 11th of March, which was NSW, New School Wrestling presents Hammer at Home. So that was the first show I've ever done with Jeff, and let me say that that show was probably the worst show I have ever done. Like, I'm not trying to trash talk myself, but I know myself, and the first show will always be the worst because I recorded for 2 minutes, like, each time. I had no idea what I was doing. I just literally just point and shoot in the direction of wrestlers, and I stopped like for 5 minutes because the wrestler was coming at me. I literally pressed the stop button and then ran away. And then I came back, I put my camera up again, followed them. As soon as they run near me, I would just press the stop button and leave. And like just go off to the side. Because I had no idea what I was doing. But that was just me at the time. That was when I was like 16. No idea what I was doing in wrestling. But now I'm 18, turning 19 in the next few months. So yeah, I'm pretty much now as what I think a great filmmaker, videographer for wrestling. So, but that's how I got started in wrestling, in the filming aspects of it. And then behind the scenes, I don't really do a lot of behind the scenes. The only company I really do behind the scenes is Courage Pro Wrestling. I'm pretty much their whole production team. Myself and my dad, we're both like trying to figure out everything. We have two cameras. They have 2 cameras, like my dad, and Courage Pro Wrestling has 2 cameras, and then I have my 1 camera, which I'm recording right now. And then we have a soundboard, in which the past year we've been trying to just learn everything, and just keep patient, and yeah. But that's pretty much how I got into behind the scenes in photography and in the wrestling filming. So yeah. And last question is, which talent have you most starstruck and marked out over for? In which I think this is about wrestling. Talent, I think you're meaning wrestlers, but I think there's a few people that came to Alpha One Wrestling when like a few months ago, like Johnny Impact. I sort of was really excited to see him. David Arquette was another one that I was excited because I knew about the Scream movies. I've watched them. Deputy Dewey. I was really excited to meet him. And then there was a few others like last year. I think I don't know if it was the beginning of 2019 or the end of 2018, but when Sami Callihan debuted in Alpha One Wrestling, I was really excited about that. That was a huge surprise. So I'm really glad that all the wrestlers take time coming up to Canada and just wrestle for just Alpha One Wrestling and all the wrestling companies like Courage Pro, SKM, NSW, anyone else in Ontario. I'm glad that all these wrestlers come up from the States. Yeah, and that's pretty much the whole vlog. I answered 12 questions. Thank you guys for participating. Next week, I'm hoping to get the HWE show in Crossroads. I'll put the poster right here. That'll be the same as the previous vlog I did. So I'd have to do behind the scenes, and then I have to come back here and explain the results. And yeah, that'll be pretty much the vlog. So thank you guys for listening, and hope you enjoy the week. Oh, P.S. Getting my hair cut later today. Bye.